Now, you're watching this video because you are keen on learning more about FDA compliance and importing food products into the United States. Well, Tim Forrest here from Tim Forrest Consulting is the absolute expert on this topic. He has over 38 years experience of importing food products into the US. Tim is so thorough and so detailed. He is your go-to guy for everything under this subject and then some. So Tim, let's jump right in here. Can we talk about FDA compliance issues? What's the number one challenge that people are facing right now when this topic comes onto the table?
Thank you very much, Suvi. The first thing is going to be how big the U.S. opportunity is. So many people don't realize. They know it's a big opportunity in the U.S., but it is absolutely huge. There's only a few 100 million people. There's 300, a little over 300 million consumers in the United States. Yet they account for half the world's purchases in the food category. So this is not just adding another country. This is adding half the globe's consumption of food products. So that gives you an idea of how big the opportunity is. Along with that, I want people to understand there's definite issues involved if you don't get this right. Very, very serious consequences, not just financial, but there's ongoing consequences if you don't do it right, ongoing for your company and the service level and what you're able to do going forward. So there's all kinds of things associated with it and making this very important. And the stakes are as high, if not the highest stakes, I think, that are on the planet for anyone that's not selling in the United States today.
Where do food entrepreneurs even start with this topic? I mean, it can feel
Yeah.
overwhelming at first, but it's so crucial and it's so important. What's the starting point?
The one that we recommend is call us immediately. So get us a note. It's frustrating to think that people could call us and avoid some of the problems. Unfortunately, a percentage of our clients are denied entry at the port with their food products. And that creates a lot of issues and problems we just talked about. And then we get involved and solve that so that they can bring future shipments into the US. But the idea is the number one thing is to get ahead of this and to be on the front end, prepare properly and to be organized. And that begins with the ingredients. What are the food products you're bringing into the US? And that's how we start. I'm going to ask for what are the ingredients of the food items and what are the products. So if you're bringing a fruit or produce item, fruit, vegetable, whatever that is, we're going to ask you exactly what that is. Is there any processing? What is the packaging? We want to start to understand what you're bringing into the US. The FDA also works with food supplements. And so this is where your ingredients are so important. And we're going to ask for the chemical name of the ingredient as well as the common name. And so that's a little bit of a hint or an idea of where to get started. You Obviously, you can go to our website, timforrest.com. I've got an article there. We've got a fantastic FDA import user guide that people can go through. And there's several videos on there, including this one, as far as getting started with importing into the United States, and kind of an outline and a process of how we work and what we do to go forward there.
Absolutely. I mean, you named some of the requirements and regulations that people really need to think about, but you truly are the expert in all of the complexities that are involved here, ensuring products meet all necessary standards, including pre-market approvals, thinking about the proper documentation, understanding FDA detention protocols.
Yeah.
These are all areas, Tim, in which you basically shine. So, what are some tips or tricks that you have that you can share today along those lines?
This is our 28th year of helping companies, international brands, come into the United States and into the US food market. One of the most important things is thinking about your package design, the labeling that goes on your product. This is so important. So the basics are going to be English. It has to be in English. That's just a beginning. There are opportunities for us to get around some of if there's labeling, we want to begin and test the market. There are some sticker opportunities for us. We can sticker packaging, but that also needs to be in English. But that's a beginning point, is needs to be in English. And then there's protocols. One of the things that people need to be aware of, a tip, is it's not just one agency. So it's not just the FDA that we have to work with on the package design. And so that's where so many people get bottled up, is they think that they can maybe Google it or somehow figure out what to do on the packaging. But it's not just one agency. There's multiple agencies involved in the design of the packaging. And so you need to know all of those when you design the package. If you will reach out to someone that has done it before, obviously we're happy to help. Um, Someone that has done it before is the key to understanding, because there's not a place you can go online, a depository necessarily of everything that needs to happen on the package design. The second thing would be is to build your build what we just said earlier. Build what are the ingredients that you want to bring into the United States. You want to make sure that they're safe, considered safe for the U.S. market. Generally, most items are, but just one item, just one ingredient in that product can prevent you from entering the U.S. market. And so, last thing, a tip that I would have is, in this area is so important. We're working with a client right now. They were doing so many things right. So in the process, as far as you've got to, there's issues we have to document good manufacturing practices. The FDA is very concerned about what are the critical control points, making sure that there's hazard analysis is done correctly. So you can do all these things correctly and then put incorrect or confuse the packaging in such a way that it doesn't allow you to enter the US market. Even though you're doing all this other compliance work, you're missing some element on the packaging that basically nulls what you're doing on all these other areas. And so those are three quick ideas, hopefully, Suvi, that helps folks as far as understanding entering the US market and being compliant.
Absolutely. And I think, what's really important here and like the big key is there is no room for error. I mean, one
Right.
tiny error can be astronomical in setbacks, in losing money, in delays. So you really want to entrust this process in an expert, someone like you who's been doing this for decades. And Tim, you have such a detailed and thorough process, and you have templates and solutions and everything in place to make sure that it's such a complicated and sometimes scary process, but you have a way of doing it so that it's seamless. It's almost easy for you to guide people through this, and you make the process feel really good, which is what I really
Yeah.
appreciate about what you do and what I really want people to know. I mean, don't, like you said, you can find things online or you can Google, but don't try to tackle this on your own. You want success right off the bat here.
Yep, exactly. And so, yes, Suvi, we start with our onboarding. So we have an onboarding checklist. We've got a checklist for everything that we're doing, and so that begins the process. Also, we've written a roadmap. When I got started doing this, so I'm doing this a long time ago, I didn't have a roadmap. People around me did it, and I observed and was told what we needed to do and followed those processes. So our roadmap outlines each one of the areas along with the supporting documentation to walk us through what is it that we need to do as far as the labeling. What are the requirements? I wrote a guideline just for packaging. I called it Fit for FDA. And in this is one module that we go through together with my clients. It lists out all the different areas that we have to work on to work with the clients on. There's three different groups that work on the packaging. And so you would have to, if you wanted to try to do this alone, you would have to find each one of the three different groups of the federal US government and understand what it is, because you have different agencies involved just on the packaging side. And so I put that guide together, and that was just one part of the overall process of being FDA compliant. And so since then, I began to say, oh, I need a guide for this area. I need a guide for this area. So even though we have a checklist, it's just 12 items, those checklists expand out to all the different agencies, all the different areas, all the different requirements specifically for your country. So just your country, wherever someone is interested in importing into the US, they're going to have specific guidelines for that country. And that's something, the nuance there is not necessarily shared online or with someone if they haven't done it before, they don't realize. So just the fact that you're from India, just the fact that you're from Germany, just the fact like the projects we're working on multiple projects in Thailand right now, just the fact that you're from that country, that changes the guidelines of what we need to do there. And that's the nuances that we're talking about that are so important. Also, you're so right. We need to get this right. And it's almost, I'm saying it kind of facetiously, it's the gift that keeps on giving. But if we don't do this right, what happens is you can imagine, in a government agency or the port authorities, if they have a problem with you one time, so the first time you have a problem, you're going to be flagged in the system, and they've got computerized, everything's on computers and computerized. You're going to be flagged in the system, and you're going to get extra attention going forward, and that's going to lower your service level for your US clients. And so that's not a good thing. It's going to, not only is going to cost you money in the extra compliance and the as far as being stuck at the port longer, you're going to have storage fees, and you have potentially additional inspection fees, but you're also going to have, you'll be slower to market. So being slower to market for anything is not good for growing a food brand, and it's just not a healthy way to go forward with your business. So it's so important that you do everything, you do it with precision, you're credible and effective with all of your FDA compliance work for you to come into the US. And it's also understand it's not just FDA compliance, but it's US Department of Agriculture, it's US government, it's the FTC, it's all these different agencies that have that overview and work with bringing food products into the United States. And so there's a lot to it. When you have a checklist, when you have a process, it's so much easier. And we're able, in 8 weeks, we're able to complete everything and have a international food brand come into the United States market.
It is crucial. You want your first step over the border to be the correct right step right off the bat. And I mean, Tim, you have everything in place to take someone through this process. So instead of someone trying to do all the work on their own, it's to their benefit to partner with you. You'll get it done fast, you'll get it done right. What are some of the stories or feedback some of your clients have shared with you after going through this FDA compliance process with you? What do they say?
Well, a lot of them are just thank you, Tim. They're very happy. So so there, I can share just a couple. I just think of a couple that are stopped at the border. So they had a denial of entry, and so we were able to help them to mitigate the solution so they could get the product into the United States. Others are much more serious, and so they've been having tremendous problems. They had denial of entry, and they were making a lot of the changes that we've talked about in our conversation today, and they were still unable to get product into the United States. They, from their perspective, they were following all the rules, they were doing all the work, they even had partners in place, but they were unable to resolve some of the issues. Part of the issue was the English was their second language. So in their information, as far as describing it, they stated in there that there was a comment about 1 week. So they were following what they thought were the regulations. They said 1 week. The regulations were 7 days. And because English was their second language, they thought, well, 1 week equals 7 days. But as far as being compliant with the FDA, the instructions for U.S. consumers need to state 7 days,
7 days.
not 1 week. And so they just had their second delivery to the United States that has not been stopped. And so they've been very, very appreciative of the work that we did. We had to do a lot of mitigation. The FDA government is holding you responsible as an importer to bring safe and wholesome food products into the United States. So that's open-ended. That's not a license and then you fill out one form and you're good to go. At any time, if the FDA has any reason or the Border Patrol has any reason that's not safe and wholesome, all they have to do is just say, put up, stop. They just hit the stop button, and you're unable to bring that product going forward. They can demand all sorts of things as far as chemical analysis. They can stop the order. They'll do a denial of entry. But all of this goes back to the framework. Their job is to make sure that you're only bringing in safe and wholesome product. And they're going to ask you as an importer, okay, Mr. Importer, we're very interested in understanding how you're telling us that this is safe and wholesome. So this is not a permit or a license that you just check the box and then you're done. But every order has to meet that criteria, or else you're going to have problems. When you understand that, that brings a lot more context to understanding what it is you're doing, and really an understanding of what this process is of bringing food products from overseas into the United States, into this market that is half the world's dollar consumption revenue. Also, because of this, there's a lot of fear and unknowns in this area. So many food products that are so successful overseas. Many of our clients are number one in their market, but they're very concerned about how do we even open the door to the United States market? And that's where we come in. We're happy to help. And our clients have been very successful. We've had multiple clients that have done millions upon millions of dollars in sales, actually hundreds of millions of dollars in sales in the United States market from overseas. And so we're excited and happy to assist.
I cannot believe it came down to something as simple as language, the 7 days versus the 1 week. Oh my goodness.
We know what the needs are to get through the port. And so we're going to be examining what your packaging is and also what your designers have done for the US market. And then we're going to compare and contrast with what's accepted by the FDA, what's accepted by the port authorities, also the country of origin issues that we talked about earlier. And then we create a full, complete reports on the packaging. I was working on a project literally just last week, and they've been in business for many, many years. And they literally had the angle of the product incorrect. And the FDA requires mandatory, specific area has to be level. And so that's an item that could be a refusal of entry, just not having the type set and a level as far as the design of the packaging. Also, we don't want curves or unusual words for specific parts of the packaging. I'm not talking about branding. And so those are just some quick ideas for you, Subi.
No, that was so helpful. Thank you. I mean, there's so much to think about and so much you want to get right and so much that you don't want to get wrong. So it's good,
Right.
it's good that you're taking us through this so we can read, but you literally have to read in between the lines here and be very, very careful and very specific. Can we talk a little bit about documentation and record keeping? How
Yeah.
important is that?
We don't physically ship products for our clients. We're going to provide all the know-how and insight and the documentation that you're going to share with your shipper so that you can get through the port. That being said, though, one of the things that we interviewed a shipping advisor for the customs broker shipping advisor, and so we do have tremendous documentation that we share on what's happening with your product as it comes through. So you're going to need lots of documentation for your shipping company, but the FDA is going to be asking for that. They're going to want to know, they're going to need a commercial invoice when you ship. You're going to need to advise them. One of the things that happened, every single food product that comes into the United States is inspected by the FDA. In order for you to enter the United States, the FDA has to give you a release number that they've inspected and that you're good to go, that you're good to enter the United States. So your food product not will not get into the United States without the FDA giving the go ahead for it to enter through the port. And so there's documentation for that. And so everything that we've been talking about in our call today leads up to this documentation to the FDA. And then you have to ask the FDA. So you're going to need all the documentation for your shipping, like your commercial invoice that we just talked about. But you're going to send all that to the FDA and say, okay, please, you're going to raise your hand. We're ready to be inspected. We need our release number. We need to be able to enter the US market. And so everything that we've been discussing about in the call has to be supplied to the FDA in a format that they understand and a process so they can give you the inspection and in turn provide you with a release number so you can obtain entry to the port and then pass through, be cleared, and then you're able to ship and sell within the United States in the distribution and supermarkets and restaurants and sell to the 300 plus million U.S. consumers.
Thank you. And that's what I respect and appreciate about you and your team so much is that you guys really do assist and support in the area of preparing for those FDA audits and inspections. Like you guys are right there, hands on, making sure that everything's done correctly.
Right.
That's
Yes.
fantastic. Now, can we talk about training and support and where you guys come into play in that area in this process?
Just the fact that we have the roadmap. So we have the roadmap book that we share with our clients. It's a workbook that walks through every part of the process. Also, I meet with all my FDA clients. We meet on a regular weekly basis by and or every other week on Thursdays, just like this in a Zoom meeting, so that they understand what they're doing, what we're doing. They understand we both have homework to do. Also, if they have any questions or areas of concern or needs, we can provide additional feedback on that. And we do that in real time, live through the 8 week process. Some clients go a few weeks over, some even are less than 8 weeks, but that's the process that we go through. And in that process, they're going to learn how to do this. And, even though they'll be able to do it without us, we're going to we support all of our clients for years into the future. And they can reach us anytime. They can send us an email anytime. We can have meetings, schedule meetings, whatever the needs are to make sure that they're taken care of and compliant to sell and to be very successful in the U.S. marketplace.
It's a long-term ongoing process, FDA compliance. It's not just a one-time thing. If you want exponential growth and continued success, this is something you need to streamline and make sure that you always have up to date. And speaking of up to date, another tricky aspect of all of this is that, regulations change in the FDA. How
Yeah.
often have you seen in your experience the compliance rules and regulations change, and how do you and your team stay up to date and then make sure that all your clients are up to date as well?
Yeah, they do change. You're so right, Suvi. They do change. They change very much. One of the benefits of working with us is that we're helping our clients to be successful in the future. So we're already like all the projects that we're working on, we know the changes that are going to happen in 2026. So we're already working with our clients to put in any of the 2026 regulations into the shipments we're doing in 2024 and 2025. You've got to stay on top of this. This is not a one and done. This is an ongoing process. We hopefully for our clients, we make it very easy and effective. We also give them alerts and help them ahead of time so that they're up to speed on that. We also have a system in place so that when things that need to happen in the future need to happen, we're automatically alerted of that, and we take action on that.
And one of the benefits of working with Tim Forrest Consulting and of you being an FDA compliance expert is that you are well versed in FDA best practices. What knowledge can you impart on everyone there? Why is it
Yes,
important to be, skilled in best practices here?
number one is to be effective and get through the port quickly. This is all about supply chain and then also revenue. We want to get to revenue as quick as possible. We also want to have an effective and as fast as possible supply chain. So the better job you do with your paperwork, the better job you do with first impressions, the packaging, and any of the documentation you have, the faster you get through the port and the less problems you have. The last thing you
You
want.
want that good track record. You're making that good first impression, right? That's really
Exactly.
important.
Exactly. And you want to get to a point where there's a level of trust so that you can quickly get through the port as quick as possible. And so it's just so important to be effective there and to make that happen.
You set up all of your clients and all of your partnerships up for success in this area. So thank you, Tim, so much for sharing just some of your expertise on FDA import compliance. Is there anything else that you think is very crucial for people to know at this stage in the process? They're consuming this information right now for a reason because they're at a certain stage in their process. What's the biggest takeaway from this conversation that you can leave everyone with?
This is the welcome mat for the U.S. market for international brands. It's not that they don't want you to come into the United States. This is not a hurdle. They want to have effective and a wonderful marketplace of world suppliers in the food area. They do want you to do that though under with guidelines and rules such that it's a safe and wholesome food. And so that's number one. I mean that would be the top takeaway is The FDA, the Port Authority, everyone, they welcome international brands, and they've provided a roadmap as far as regulations, rules, and compliance guidelines, such that this is how you come into the United States. They welcome you as long as you're bringing safe and wholesome food for the U.S. consumer.
I love that. And you have really done such an expert and skillful job at simplifying that roadmap and making it so that it's easy to follow and digest and implement and understand. So thank you for doing that,
Thank you.
because that in and of itself is a challenge that is not always fun to tackle. But thank you
No.
so much, Tim, for that. I am so excited to see what else comes from you and your team on this topic. You've been doing this for decades, but you're just getting started in how to really, impart this knowledge onto your clients and partnerships so that they can have a very positive experience. And this is only the beginning, and it's coming out of the gate so strong and so professional. And I'm truly excited to see what comes next.
Thank you very much, Suvi. And if anyone is interested in watching this, is interested in the U.S. market and would like to import their food products in the U.S. market, and they're not sure that they can do it, or it's not possible, or they have any questions, jump on my calendar. We would love to talk to you to see if there's an opportunity for your products and the ingredients that are in your products, whether it's produce, vegetable, fruit, a food supplement item, any of that. If there's an opportunity for us to in any way help you, we would love to talk to you about it and share some insights about the U.S. market. And this is a fabulous, the U.S. market is a fabulous market as far as the opportunities. Also, it's very competitive, and you want to have a method and a process to that. And we do bring that for our clients, and we're excited to offer those opportunities for international food brands interested in the U.S. market.